I can't believe it, but it's already May, which means it's time for wrap-ups and TBRs, and I still can't believe it's May. Where has this year gone? It feels like it was just Christmas. I really wish it was Christmas again. So close. We're almost halfway there. Hello everyone, it is Samantha, and today I am here with my April wrap-up and May TBR. I am very pleased with my reading this month. I read a lot of great books, some not so great books, but it was a good mixture, and audiobooks and Overdrive saved my life this month because I was feeling very slumpy, and then I discovered that I rather like audiobooks, and I listened to a few at work, which is a great way to pass the day, so woohoo for audiobooks. So now let me get started in telling you guys what books I read in the month of April, and what I thought of them, and all of that good wrap-up stuff that we all look forward to each month. But of course, every single wrap-up that I have been doing this year, I start out with some monthly statistics, tell you guys a breakdown of the books that I read this month in numbers. So now I will present you guys with my fancy graphs. So this month I read a total of 11 books, although really it was 10 books in one graphic novel. Of these books, 45% of it was fantasy, 18% was nonfiction, 9% was middle grade, the other 9% was graphic novels, and finally 18% was just fiction. Of the books that I read, 27% of these were hardbacks, 9% were trade paperbacks, 36% were audio, 9% was a graphic novel, and 18% were ebooks. It was kind of a big mixture of the types of books I read this month in terms of format, just a nice good mixture. I read a total of 3,354 pages, which averages out to about 305 pages per day. Of the books that I read, the country where the author hails from, 4 were from the United States, 1 was from Canada, 4 were from the UK, 1 was from Spain, and 1 was from Australia. The books that I read this month also spanned a wide variety of years. The majority of the books that I read were published between the years of 2010 and 2014. There was 4 books. 2 were published 2000 to 2010. 1 was published in the 90s, 1 was published in the 80s, 1 was published in the 50s, 1 was published in the 40s, and 1 was published in the early 1900s, 1902, I believe it was. And finally, of the books that I read, I rated 4 of them 5 stars, 1 was 4.5 stars, 5 of them were 4 stars, and 1 of them was 2 stars. So now that I have shown you guys the statistics of the books that I read this month, I will now tell you guys the books themselves and what I thought of them. So the first book that I finished this month was The Crown Tower by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the first book in his prequel series, the Rhaenyra Chronicles. So this follows Royce and Hadrian, our heroes from the Rhaenyra Revelation series, Theft of Swords being the first one. It follows them from, in this book, when they first met each other and first started working with each other, so I don't want to give too much away. It is a prequel novel, but it deals with a lot of the events that were spoken about in the actual Rhaenyra Revelation series, Theft of Swords, Heir of Novaron, those books. So things that were alluded to between the characters were dealt with in this book. I really enjoyed it. I don't normally like prequel novels, but he's making a whole series out of these. He is going to be having a 3rd one coming out before the end of the year, which I am very excited about. It was excellent. It was great to see Royce and Hadrian before they were friends and kind of how they got to know each other. It was just really, really fantastic. And we got to see more from Gwen's perspective, which I really, really love, because Gwen is seriously one of my favorite female characters now. She is just fantastic and amazing, and I loved her to death. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. So if you've read Theft of Swords and all the rest of the Rhaenyra Revelation series, then definitely pick these books up. They are great. I do suggest that you do not read them until you have read the actual series. I don't think you will enjoy them or appreciate them as much until you have done so. But yes, I really enjoyed it. Great book. The second book I read this month was Lyriel by Garth Nix. This is a sequel to Sabriel. It takes place about 20 years after Sabriel. Really, really enjoyed it. It follows Sabriel's son and another character, Lyriel, who is a daughter of one of the Clare. The Clare are like the seers, people who can see the future and prophesy. It was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed this a lot more than Sabriel. It was fast-paced. It definitely set some things up for the next book. I loved Lyriel and Dog. And Mogget from Sabriel, those are probably some of my favorite interactions of the book. It was just so great. We got to learn more about the world, and it was just fantastic. I don't want to go too in-depth in the plot, as it is the second book in the series, but I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I cannot wait to pick up Abhorsen, which should be happening today, hopefully. The third book that I read this month was The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This is a literary fiction novel. It follows a demon who is writing his nephew, and he is trying to school his nephew on how to tempt humans and basically make them succumb to temptation and ultimately enter hell. It was a really, really interesting book. It deals with a lot of theological topics, and C.S. Lewis just did a really great job with it. I think he raised a lot of interesting points and really made me think. I don't read books like these that often, but it was really, really, really fascinating and engaging, and I highly recommend it. It was definitely a little bit creepy. It definitely really makes you think, but I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. We also did a live show for this book that Arthur from Chapter Select hosted. Arthur, myself, Maureen from Maureen Kiwi, Katie from Vince Van Stop, and Elizabeth from Lizzie Books. So I'll link that down below if you guys missed the live show. We had a great discussion in it, and you guys asked a bunch of fabulous questions. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. The next book that I read was actually an audiobook that I listened to, and it was The Prince of Mist by Carlos Ruiz Zafran. It was my first book by him, and now I see why everybody loves him. This guy is fantastic. It follows a young boy in Spain, and his family moves during World War II to a coastal town in Spain because their dad's trying to get them away from the war. So we're living in a big city. So they move into this coastal town. They move into this house that has kind of a dark past. This little boy was killed under mysterious circumstances, and weird things start happening. So Max, the main character, has to kind of figure out why weird things are happening. He's seeing and hearing weird things, so are his sisters, and it's all entwined with this history of how this boy met his end and the family that lived there before. Really, really good book. It was super creepy. I would say it kind of reminded me of Alfred Hitchcock film almost, the way that it was told. It was so engrossing, and it just had me captivated. It had my attention going the entire time. And there was an element in there that reminded me so much of Doctor Who, the Weeping Angels. So if you like Doctor Who and you like the Weeping Angels and you like Alfred Hitchcock, then I suggest you check out this book because it was excellent. I also recommend the audiobook. The audiobook also features original music from Carlos Ruiz Zafran that he composed himself for it. So I highly recommend you check it out. It was really, really good. I rated this one 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read and listened to was The 5 Children in It by E. Nesbit. This is my first time picking up any of her books, and I have to say I really did not enjoy it. It follows 5 children in a small English town who have moved to the countryside for the summer. They discover this little fairy-like creature who promises to grant them 1 wish each day. So basically the children end up having to learn a lesson about being a little bit greedy and what their wishes entail and how it's not always good to get everything that you want. Overall, I didn't really enjoy it. The characters just really got on my nerves after a while. I think if I would have read this as a kid, I would have enjoyed it a lot more than I did reading it as an adult. I think that if you were introduced to this at a younger age, you might enjoy it more, but I just did not find it interesting. I found it really boring. I got annoyed with all the characters, and it just did nothing for me. Was not the biggest fan. I rated this one 2 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read, which was also the last audiobook I listened to this month, was The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. This book was so good. I see why everybody loves it so much. It was excellent. The Raven Boys follows our main character, Blue. Blue is a girl being raised in a family of psychics. Her mother and her aunts and their friends are all psychics, but she's the only one that doesn't have the psychic ability. However, she does have the power to amplify their gifts, so they tend to have her present for readings and things as they were able to see more or see more clearly. And her aunts and her mother have always told her that she should never kiss anybody because if she kisses her true love, he will die. So she's kind of sworn off boys. She doesn't want anything to do with them. She's just all over that. But one day she has her first sort of clairvoyant experience, and she realizes that one of the boys in the academy in their town, which is an academy for rich boys, is going to die. And her fate ends up becoming entwined with the Gansney, the boy that she has discovered will die. These boys that she hates, she ends up kind of becoming friends with. And they all have a very interesting, different past from most other kids. Gansney himself and his friends are obsessed with finding a Welsh king, sort of like a King Arthur story. Glendower, he was actually a historical figure. He believes that he was buried in this place, this town, and that he is only sleeping, and that if he is woken, he will answer your wish and other crazy things will happen. This book is really kind of hard to explain, but it is so good. I really enjoyed it. All of the characters were well developed and fascinating. I loved Blue. She was fantastic. I loved her attitude and her personality. Gansney and all the boys are very complex characters, and his friends are just great. However, trigger warning, there is some domestic violence in this book, so if that is something that would upset you, then I don't recommend that you check it out, as one of the boys is a victim of domestic violence. But the book itself is really good, and I cannot wait to read book 2. I see why everybody loves this book so much. It was excellent, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read this month was one of my nonfiction books, and it is Jen Campbell's Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. If you don't know Jen, I highly suggest you check her out. She's also a booktuber, so I'll be linking her channel down below. She has a fantastic channel. But she's also a great author, and she has written these books just basically full of weird things customers have said in bookshops. It was hilarious, and I loved it to pieces. It was just a really great, lighthearted read, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. Then this month was the Dewey 24-hour readathon, so I was able to get 3 things read. The first thing that I was able to get read was the second book, the sequel, More Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. I enjoyed it just as much as the first. There was even some in here from around the world, including my own state, so that was kind of exciting. Just really funny, and I also rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read as part of the Dewey's 24-hour readathon was a Volume 2 International Flavor. I enjoyed this one not as much as the first one. I thought that the plot development was a little bit slow, but the character development was great. I continue to really enjoy this one. I think it's just fantastic and hilarious and unique, and I highly recommend that you check it out if you have not done so already. But I rated Volume 2 4 out of 5 stars. The last book that I read as part of the Dewey's 24-hour readathon, and the last book I finished this month, was Merlin: The Lost Years by T.A. Barron. This is a reread for me, but I really wanted to reread this book series because I remember enjoying it so much, and I don't think I have read the last book either. But basically this follows our character Merlin. It starts out with him as a boy, and he was shipwrecked on the coast of England with this woman that calls herself his mother, though he's never quite believed it. And he soon discovers that he has powers that he was not aware of, and he ends up having to flee this land and go to a parallel world, the world of the fairies, and discover more about his past. And he ends up entwined with Rhea, this young girl that he discovers on the island, and then a lot of fantastical things occur, and they end up kind of helping this land that is in a turmoil under this evil king. And you discover that there are these 2 evil spirits kind of fighting each other and controlling everything, and it was just great. T.A. Barron creates a very big, beautiful, fully developed world that is just very rich and detailed. I really like the character of Merlin. He can be a little bit angsty at times, but he is like 12, so I guess that's to be expected. But I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to continue on with rereading this series. It goes by really fast. It's a middle grade read, but it is excellent, and I highly recommend you check it out if you have not done so already. So I also started 3 books this month, but I was unable to finish them. Most of this month I was feeling a little bit book slumpy. It just wasn't really in the reading mood. I had a lot going on. So those books were The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. I got about halfway through it. I started this like early in the month too. I just never finished it. I need to do it. It's okay so far. It's not as good as his Night Angel series, so I have heard the later books get better. I guess I'll find out how I feel about it when I finish it. Sometimes the ending of a book can kind of seal the deal, more so than the first half, so we shall see. The next book that I started but have not yet finished was The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. I am about 160 pages into it, and I'm really enjoying it. This is a great book. It is hilarious. I love all of the characters, and I do intend on finishing this in May. I was hoping to this month, just hadn't quite happened yet, but it's going to because I'm really enjoying it. It's great. And the last book that I started but did not finish, and I got about 100 pages into it, was The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. I am a horrible host of the Year of Cosmere. I was hoping to get this read, but like I said, things were getting crazy and I was stressed out and busy, so I wasn't able to read a lot. I will finish this in May. I'm excited to. So far, I'm enjoying this a lot more than the other 2 so far, which is great. And I will be having another Year of Cosmere video up soon. It is going to be a fan casting for the Mistborn series, so look out for that in May. So those were the first 3 books on my May TBR. So now I will tell you guys what other books I intend on reading in the month of May. The first book that I intend to read this month is The Camelot Burning by Catherine Rose. I'm reading this with Michael from Bitten by a Radioactive Book. This is an Arthurian steampunk retelling. I was supposed to start this yesterday. Hopefully it will happen today. I'm probably going to read this one a little bit slower, though it looks like it will go fast. I mean, it's big font and it's not very big, and I'm just really intrigued to read it because I love King Arthur stories and I like steampunk, so it's kind of the perfect combo. The next book that I'm reading is going to be a buddy read with Sky Pie on the Fly, so I'll link her down below if you haven't checked her out already. And it is Emily of New Moon by Ella Montgomery. This is the author of the Anne of Green Gables series. I've heard this one is very, very good, this series, so I cannot wait to read it and check it out for myself. Plus, I love this cover because it's so cute and pretty. So I'm excited to read it. I've been missing the Anne of Green Gables books, and I kind of need that heartwarming story thing going, so I'm very excited to read this one this month. The next book I'll be reading this month, and is probably one of my most anticipated reads of the month, is The Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. This is the second trilogy after the Farseer trilogy, so it takes place in the same world, just a different area of the same time. I'm very excited to read it. I love Robin Hobb's work, and I just cannot wait to dive back into this world. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Next, I am going to be reading The Rose and Thorn by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the second of his prequel novels featuring Royce and Hadrian. Cannot wait to get back with those boys again. They are fantastic and I love reading them. They are so wonderful. Next up, I am going to be reading The Emperor of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. This is the third book in the Broken Empire trilogy. Really hoping to get to it this month. I should be. I'm going to be better reading it with Caitlin from KDG. I read the first two, so I'm excited to see how this series wraps up. So gonna happen. Also, I am going to be reading The Dream Thieves, the second book in the Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. Cannot wait to see what's going to happen with Blue and the boys of the Academy. I'm very excited to read it. I cannot wait. And the last buddy read I have planned is The Once and Future King by T.H. White. This is an Arthurian retelling series, one of the more famous ones. It features A Sword in the Stone, which Disney made a movie based off of this story. So I'm going to be reading this with Ben from Bangity Bangs, and because we both love King Arthur stories. So yes, I got about 100 pages into it, and hopefully we'll now finish it. I'm very excited to do so. As I'm sure you guys can tell, I have a very ambitious TBR for the month of May. Really hoping I can pick up my reading and get through all of these, because I really, really want to read all of them. So guys, let me know down in the comments what books you read in the month of April and what you hope to get to in May. Let me know if you have anything you would like to say about these books and what your thoughts were on them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy reading. Bye!